official Marxist groups wouldn't allow you to be gay, except for one very kooky Marxist offshoot that I was aware of at the time. If you were gay, you couldn't be a member of any of these Marxist or socialist groups at the time. And the folks who I'm talking about here as being Marxist are trying to be gay, but they're trying to be gay as Marxist. The official Marxists wouldn't have them, okay? But they still want, it's like Catholics still want to be Catholics, even though the Pope won't have them without gays. It's kind of analogous to that kind of thing. So in response to the sterile domination of assimilationists, many of us gay men have turned to a wholehearted embrace of a non-gay theoretical perspective, Marxism. Our attraction to this tradition stems from our attraction to our gay vision, which is one of absolute freedom. Such freedom is universal and therefore must encompass all people, destroying every form of oppression, since no current theoretical system within the gay movement can sustain, even when it's many years before postmodernism, all those critical points of view. Since no current theoretical system within the gay movement can sustain and help actualize our sense of freedom, where gay people, meaning men, have turned to that tradition which does promise radical freedom, Marxism. But in this process, we ally ourselves with another line of thought which doesn't develop our unique, peculiar gay potential. And so that peculiar, unique quality is what I'm most fascinated by and most interested in. Even though I haven't learned everything about it myself, and I would want to in this book. I've known everything about it. It's a way of being, that whole thing I'm putting the ing on nouns, to turn them into things rather than static isms or stucknesses, to become processes inside. So, an economic analysis of gay obsession is absurd, like forming a composite animal by tacking the legs of a kangaroo onto a tuna fish. The resulting creature makes a big splash in the water but doesn't go anywhere. The origin of anti-gayness is not to be found in economics. However, this doesn't deny the importance of people's liberation movements, they were big at the time, leftist movements, and our solidarity with them, or membership in them for those who are gay in the third world. But some of us aren't satisfied with either of these dominant branches of the male gay liberation movement, either assimilationist or Marxist. These were the dominant theoretical places you go to back then if you were gay, for one theory that was gay. We want to seek out our vision, which we sense contains a unique and necessary contribution to the freedom of humanity, which contains the seeds of a magical healing transformation in consciousness, key to the evolution of humanity to a new stage of being. We know we must bring our vision to birth, where its powers can act and grow in the world. We must develop it in a body of analysis and action, so it can take root in the soil of daily reality and generate a new liberation. For at the heart of our vision is a vital spirit force, bringing a revolutionary change in how we see ourselves and other people and the goals toward which we strive. In this essay, we will explore this gay spirit force, trying to uncover what it is and what it means. This exploration will not be easy, however, because the spirit force is in many ways foreign to our Western-trained consciousness. In addition, it has been the special target of anti-gay oppression, forcing it into the unconscious, into hiding. All this gives it a vague, elusive mistiness, making it difficult to grasp. This is just the second page. I'll stop here now. Got any reactions to this? Now you see how it is. I'm only about a page and a half into it. It's going to go on to the whole first essay, which lays out a whole theory for this practice. I've since changed the theory. There are aspects of the theory I very strongly disagree with now. And we can get details, but I see already the time flies. There's so much already. Even if I touch on any of this, in any substance, it already takes time. It's the way of the stuff. It's of this nature. But I have there's first of all a whole essay that just lays out a way to understand all this stuff theoretically in a way that's getting more and more aiming towards the practice of it. Because I'm no longer interested in writing things. I want to keep writing, but I don't want to write things I'm not also practicing. But I'm also not encouraging others to practice. to write the way one was practicing. It's something I had to keep learning about. So the way I just read you is the first way I started to do that. Even earlier than that, I learned to read you earlier. But it's perhaps more pronounced here. So I would do everything at this point involve others in circles. Nothing was trying to be considered in a linear way, even though we had to write in a linear fashion. It was a kooky, it was a very strange world. The dress looked very different than that. As I mentioned to you, it was a normal course of life. The friends I had were extremely radical. I'm sorry, at that time. And then they got even kookier. I got more and more into this business of magical or chemical initiation. So I practiced it more and more. It pulled me in because my will wanted to. So eventually taught me how to practice that more seriously, so that I felt like it was something inviting me to write a second essay. So I wrote a second essay the following year. By that time, having organized in Faerie, John Morrison was part of it, Don Guthrie, decided I wanted to move towards actually practical activities. So I scheduled that first event. After the first event, I get very tripped out when I have documentation of the space of being in but what could be called, if you're not in it, a trance state, where you're in relationship with the beyond in that experience. Not in the here and now, but it's just here and now. The first thing is like a trance, that you're on a trance that occurred. So I wrote a thing that's like that. That's the third essay in here. It's a ritual trance. It's meant to be chanted. Just for your information. So you'll see here, if you actually look at the text, those of you going to do the text. So you see every once in a while there's these little images. These actually represent musical sounds. It's to be chanted and then have the sounds. And I actually did do it once. It was at the second gathering, and I went several days early. It was in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, outside Denver, above 8,000 feet. And after I set up my camp, you rented the campsite. It's large acreage. There's nothing there except outlets and water pits. It truck and everything. I was there first because I wanted to work with the spirit of space. There was a cliff into a large valley that was rather dramatic. This 500-foot drop. It was really dramatic. When we had the Faerie gathering for like 5-6 days, and days on my journey. So in the middle of that, I decided I would do the last essay. It's ritual with the bell. I had to Tibetan bell. Went and sat out on the edge of this guy. I got a spot. It was right at the edge. The boulders and everything. It's very dramatic. It was like 10 at night. It was fucking freezing. Yeah, I put up this little flyer at the gathering and the campsite, saying I'm going to do this ritual if you're interested. So there were some folks who knew me, but there were some strangers that didn't know me. I just saw the flyer. That was the idea. So we were into that back then, whoever it was. So there was about 8, 9 guys out in the gathering, and I knew this spot, and I was going to wander out to this onto the lookout. And it was on the edge of this cliff, and I chanted and read this thing. As we were high up at high altitude, my nose started bleeding. Even the sky was recording. And so I could do that. The blood became part of the situation. I could use that to kind of increase the heat I was feeling, the words as I was expressing them, being with them. And it was a wonderful experience. So just to let you know, when you read it now, it's rather flat. There's quotes and other things. Sometimes there's songs quoted, by the way. I would actually sing the songs. They're not meant to be flat. There are references to songs, or even when there's poetry, the Walt Whitman's quoted several times. They're really sung. So originally I'm singing them. I love the linear words about myself are written. I'm singing the words. So we actually did it as a ritual. And that's this whole idea of being in the trance as the sense of learning how to be with the world beyond the flesh, what's still in the flesh, without being dissociated. It was really great to be able to work at that and cultivate to that extent. That just culminates that level of development for me. You get exposed to it if you get exposed to this book. To some extent, so I'm here in the flesh, I'm sure a little bit more with your exposure to a little bit more of that atmosphere. It changed, all changed after this. Because Harry would not change in his opposition to become psychologically minded. And my interest in only becoming more psychologically minded. To be around others who want to be more responsible. Because if you're not psychologically minded, you're irresponsible. It's your shadow. It's just the way it works. And so this caused conflict with Harry. I either had to appear to be not psychological, or he would start to get hostile with me. Couldn't work it out with him. You know, I learned how to work out anger and stuff like that. He was adamant. He was ferocious. That he's not going to work. Referencing again the problem of theological relations. That's just the way it is. But he feels threatened. He's going to have to deal with it. He just wants to go with his defenses. So I can see why, like, looking ahead many years, why the regular psychoanalytic institutes and the other sequels to Freud and so on, a lot of these psychological founded institutes, they're quasi-cop-outs on a psychologically real level, because no one wants to be too real psychologically, because you have to reveal all kinds of stuff that's very challenging and it's very difficult to do. Even people who want to do it, it's really hard to do. And I had to learn all that because I was not happy, because I was psychologically minded myself, and I would be in the organizing group with Harry and the others, and they all would be non-psychological, just acting out their stuff. And I would notice the stuff, I'd have feelings about it, and I would just want to include that. And if I just talked about my own psychology, nothing that affected them, they didn't care. As soon as I might reference anything that involved any of them, whoa! Right away the defenses. Woo! And I got into more and more of a pickle with that, for those of you who know the history of having the radical theories. Because I didn't want to give up. And not only did I like being psychologically more real rather than less, I wanted to keep going. I wanted to encourage others around me, and I wanted to have others who were encouraging of that, not discouraging of it, not discouraging as they were trying to be more pro-gay, more pro-homosexual, or more homosexual-centered. More and more this contradiction was coming up, because it's hard to describe how someone could be very charismatic and very dominating and vicious with it. Simultaneously very charismatic. You haven't experienced it. It's that person who could dominate a whole room and look like they're not dominating, yet they are, and everyone could say, if you fingered them and said, wasn't Harry dominating, running everything? They'll say, yeah, Harry was dominating, but no one minds because they're so good at what they do. And so Harry wouldn't work any opposition. So if you haven't met him personally or interacted with him, I worked with him for several years, and it's become a big problem. He wouldn't put up with any other way of looking at this, but an anti-psychological way. Things are what they appear to be. In this way, he was no different than any of the straight people. His theory was no more psychological than anyone's theory. One could get the sense from that, and otherwise it seemed like the most gay, closest to being gay-centered than anyone I'd ever known. So one could get the sense from that maybe all the things that I was feeling or that Harry was saying, that somehow being homosexual was somehow more progressive. Maybe somehow that wasn't true. Harry could show such contradictory things. So I had to puzzle that out with myself mainly, and others too. And I came to the feeling about it after hanging out with it, that it's like what I've been sharing with you all along, is that to go from seeing and understanding in a straight way, or being straight about time and space, about existence, to things that are more and more, let's say, homosexual time and space, is quite a journey. It's a very distant journey from where it starts. Let me say, I feel I'm on that journey. And this book represents a place where I become more and more interested in being on that journey. I wanted to join with others. And it was because people's shadows were getting in the way of going on a journey that shadows have to be taken into account. So this book represents beginning to do that, but only beginning. I still had to learn a lot more. Like at this point in my own development, I had done a lot of work, psychologically speaking, with what in Jungian term you might call a mother complex, with how I had a big mother complex, all these issues about the mother and the feminine that were had to do with how I was raised by my mother.